Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for standing by and welcome to Visual BI's webinar. Today, we will be talking about creating Agile data warehouse and analytics in the cloud, where our customer, Frikkie Koen from Kmg Chemicals, will be sharing his personal experience about his journey with Visual BI. During the presentation, all participants will be in a listen-only mode. If you have a question during the presentation, please submit it via the Q&A portion of the screen. Simply type your question into the box and click the send button. Our presenter will address questions at the end of the presentation, time permitting. If you don't hear an answer to your question today, don't worry, we will deliver answers to you individually after the webinar. The webinar is being recorded and a link to the replay will be sent to you via email. Presenting today are Frikkie Koen and Gopal Krishnamurthy. Frikkie is an SAP solution lead at Kmg Chemicals and has more than 20 years of experience in implementing and directing global business process transformation solutions in cross-cultural, multi-country greenfields, as well as global template environments. Gopal is the CEO of Visual BI Solutions, a firm he founded in 2010 to transform the field of enterprise business intelligence and analytics. I will now turn the presentation over to the presenters.
Thank you, Andy. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining a very exciting webinar, something that we will be doing a lot, where we invite some of our key customers like Kmg and Frikkie Koen to share their success stories. I would like to start off with the standard legal disclaimer, and today we have a very exciting agenda where Frikkie would be introducing you to Kmg Chemicals and explaining the project background of deciding to implement SAP Cloud Platform and SAP Analytics Cloud. And the project started like December 2016. So just think about it, almost 18 months back, Frikkie and Kmg took a decision to implement a cutting-edge HANA platform and analytics cloud. So it's a very exciting project, and he's going to go over the strategy and the implementation aspects of it, and also key lessons learned and some of the other additional use cases, and then he will make time for the Q&A. I just wanted to introduce Visual BI to all of you. Visual BI as a marquee firm that focuses on BI and analytics because of the depth of our consulting services, software products, and training offerings, has gone on to acquire several marquee SAP customers. And as a partner of SAP and as a gold partner of Microsoft, Visual BI has gone on to acquire 100+ customers across the globe. And as part of our webinar series, we want to start bringing in very special projects like the one that we implemented at Kmg Chemicals, where we start to share the knowledge of what Visual BI has acquired, being an early adopter to cutting-edge technologies like SAP Cloud Platform, SAP Analytics Cloud, or even the strategy of why prefer one solution over the other. And most importantly, someone like Frikkie, who is going to be talking and sharing the story, has significant experience in implementing SAP BW and business objects, but opted not to use both of them and wanted to be cloud first and opted for a very bleeding edge and cutting edge strategy and a solution. And without much further ado, I wanted to turn it over to Frikkie. And as a final thought, I just wanted to tell you to ask your questions, and Frikkie and myself will try to answer as much as possible, because somebody as knowledgeable as Frikkie is going to share real world experiences of what it takes to implement a solution like this. Over to you, Frikkie. Thank you.
Thanks, Gopal, and thanks for the opportunity to talk to everybody that's joining from wherever in the world you are. This is going to be a very informal kind of setting as we go through. I'm just going to explain to you as it is, the good, the bad, and the ugly, as we as Kmg Chemicals went through this. So before we start, just a quick little thing. The whole idea was a self-service analytics environment where our end users and the business themselves could ultimately answer the questions that they have without somebody in our either IT or SAP teams being a bottleneck to get to answer. So that's kind of the details of the project. So before we start, a little bit about Kmg Chemicals. We're about a 700 employee organization, revenue of about $500 million and growing. Fantastic financial results over the last couple of years. Stock price up, everything else, and we grow through acquisitions. And our company has literally been on a tear as our customers, companies like Intel and Samsung and Global Foundries, have seen the demand for their product increase. So the demand for our product that we service with them have increased. We've got 19 locations globally in North America, Europe, as well as in Asia. And we've got basically three business platforms. We've got the electronic chemicals, the wood treatment, and what we call the pipeline performance that service the oil and gas industry. The electronic chemicals and the wood treatment business in North America is on our global instance of SAP, and so that's and we'll talk a little more about that. But a little bit about background. We went live with SAP ECC in April 2015 with Suite on HANA. We decided to have very few customer reports. We had lots and lots of Scrubby user queries and user-generated queries, and a lot of SE16 data dumps. There was no BW that was designed by choice, and also no business object tools as well. Again, by choice, because we really wanted to see exactly how the users are using the information before we made a decision on what our long-term strategy is going to be for our data warehouse solutions. So that's kind of the background of where we started. So the challenge was, after we've gone live, our users told us the following, is we've got all this data, but we have no information. As most of you are aware of, you always hear people saying, well, how come I've got numbers in finance and you've got different numbers in sales or in inventory or in costing, and how come these numbers don't match? And as Gopal said, I've been in this space for a long time, and so I've seen this movie before, and I wasn't about to do things the same way as we did it in the past. We really needed to have a flexible and scalable solution that's cloud-based. We're a really small and nimble team on our SAP side that's supporting our global organization, and so we could not afford to be the bottleneck and not have the information in the user's hands as and when they required it. And we needed a real-time solution, both for operational, tactical, as well as executive questions that gave the exact same answer, regardless of the level of detail that we needed to do. And we were very, very clear on our scope. It needed to be on all the implemented business processes. And when I say the implemented business processes, those are the ones that were implemented on SAP. So some of our other organizations are not yet on SAP. That's part of a global rollout that I may talk about towards the end of this webinar about. But this was specifically for those on SAP. And again, we tried to keep our scope only on the data that's in the current SAP North America system. So that was the challenge and the scope of the project. In preparation, we'll go through some of the things that we did in the preparation of all of this. But we started in the July-August timeframe to evaluate the tools in the market. Obviously, there's lots of tools in the market, and us being a SAP backend shop, we really were interested in understanding where SAP is on their analytics journey, what it looks like. We attended the analytics conference in New Orleans, and that's where my first exposure was to Visual BI, and then we'll chat a little more about that later. So during the July-August workshop, we looked at all the different options in the market, and specifically, again, we wanted to be a cloud-based solution. We already use Office 365 in the cloud. A lot of our SAP backend stuff, we have kind of a cloud strategy as well. So we truly wanted to make sure that we could be a cloud first, and that's got a mobile component to that. In September, we really focused on getting a project sponsorship from our executive team, numerous meetings with our C-level organization to educate them on why the strategy and their input and their buy-in into why this is the right strategy for the long term. October, we conducted a definition workshop, and we'll talk more about that. November, we chose our partner, and December, we set up the environment. So a little more detail around all of this moving forward. So our definition workshop, we got 23 folks from our business, people that daily use some sort of reporting, in some cases our business process owners, and including executive sponsorship. So this guy right there in the back there is our CFO, and he was with us for all 3 days. And the reason why I mentioned that is it was really important for the rest of our business to see that from an executive perspective, they took this seriously. We spent 3 days in this workshop really understanding what the business call their KPIs. What's the definition of these KPIs? What's the description of these KPIs? The measures themselves, how it's calculated, all the attributes, the kind of like different things to slice and dice these measures by. Where does the data come from? Is there any additional calculations that's required? Is there any external logic that needs to be applied to this? And any and all other information related to this. So this was a 3-day highly intense workshop that we had, and folks were in this conference room with us, a big room that we have here, and we really, before we even engaged any partner, wanted to make sure we know exactly what it is we want, so that when we engage a partner, we can be clear on what our expectations are from them, from a delivery, as well as from our business users. So during this business workshop, those 3 days, we identified 151 attributes across, and again, this is across all of our businesses, right? This is across everything in customer service, in logistics, in supply chain, procurement, inventory, finance, AR/AP, costing. So we had folks from all different areas of our business involved in that. 151 attributes that we've identified and 213 measures and 92 basic stories. And when I say basic stories, we'll cover that as well. These were going to be the default views of this information that people felt both operationally, tactically, and from an executive level that they needed information about. And we really spent a lot of time, and we got down to a lot of detail in this definition workshop. We made our business own the specific the specific processes and the specific models itself that was going to be built. So I'll give you an example. There's some SQL database objects, tables, where this data come from, the schemas, we had some naming conventions, some specific prefixes to things. And in this matrix, it kind of like tells you like customer group, what's all the different areas where we wanted to look at it, what's all the KPIs that we wanted to, or measures that we wanted to slice and dice it by. So, again, a lot of detail in making sure that we had our requirements clearly defined. So once we had all of that, we sent out 4 requests for proposals from different vendors. We had 3 customer reference calls once we decided on a specific vendor to ensure that we are choosing the right vendor. And honestly, in the end, there was one clear choice, and it was Visual BI. And I'll tell you what our decision making was to get to Visual BI. Visual BI had both the onshore and offshore capability in what they did. The customer reference calls was very important to us. We wanted to understand what is their capability, their back-end strength, their modeling, their understanding of analytics in general, understanding what business processes is like, things like that. And with each reference call, we were more and more impressed that these guys are not only a nimble organization and flexible in working with us, but they could actually deliver what we were looking for. Now, again, on the cloud platform, we were on the bleeding edge. We knew that from the beginning. So from a SAP perspective, we know that the product was still busy maturing, but we were willing to go down that route. But very important for us as well, we were willing to find, well, we were looking for a partner who was willing to go down this route with us together, and get on this journey of getting to the cloud together. And in the end, Visual BI was the right choice for us. So now let's get a little into our build process. So after we had everything defined, like I said, that was in the December or so time frame. Visual BI came in December, set up the technical environment for us, and in January we started getting involved with some of the scoping and all of that, and the build was going to start in February. So we identified 13 weeks, very, very rapid, very, very aggressive timeline. But again, having worked with Visual BI, having understand at that point what their capability both onshore and offshore was, and how they could help us, we came up with this methodology together to kind of drive things. Again, we're a lean team. We wear multiple hats, so it's not like we had hundreds of people that could be available to help us with this project. We needed to work very selectively in trying to do this. So we decided to do our build in 2-week sprints. So 4 days to build and then 1 day to review, and then repeat that. We had 4 main work streams. It was quote to cash, the production and quality side of things, the finance side of things, and then the materials management / plan to make side of things. So from our side, the Kmg side, we had 1 analyst per area, and then the 2 BPOs, business process owners in the different areas, per area that worked in this. From the partner side of things, they had both the onshore and offshore component of the folks working with us. We had 1 onshore lead developer, as well as 1 data modeler onshore, and then the rest of the team worked offshore with us. So we built the environment between February and May, and I'll be the first to admit we totally underestimated what we as Kmg could do versus what Visual BI could do. We would arrive in the morning and they'd have stuff ready for us, and we weren't even finished with the previous day's testing. So the turnaround time from Visual BI was phenomenal. In the end, they were waiting on us instead of we waiting on them. And so, and there was 2 reasons for that. I guess our business underestimated, when we told them initially that, hey, we are really going to do this. So historically, things may have been a little different in our organization before I joined and things like that, but that's a whole different story. But we really had a partner that was, focusing on what the task was at hand, and they delivered it. And so all of a sudden we realized that, hey, we need to turn these things around. Now, that said, it's the first time our business got exposure to some of these things. And so, it took a little longer to process it, to understand now that they saw, the models, what these stories could do, what kind of answers they could get. The testing cycles just became longer, not because the data was incorrect, but because they got more excited about all sorts of answers that they could get that they didn't really understand in the past. So we built a technical environment through a multi-level modeling, and we'll talk a little more in detail if people have some questions around that. But we basically had what we called a private layer, then a reuse layer, and then a query layer. Private layer being we used the SAP Cloud Platform to replicate data in real time from our ECC suite on HANA, and that was unstructured data as is. Then in our reuse layer, we kind of like combine things like sales order header and sales order item and schedule line data together. in a place where we can in the future use order data and delivery data and things like that together. And then in our query layer, that's obviously the layer where some of the business logic and things got added in for specific reporting requirements that the business had. That happened during the February through May timeframe. In May, we trained our BPOs on story creation. Again, we used Visual BI for a 2-day workshop that came in and helped us train our end users on how to create stories in SAP Analytics Cloud. So, Visual BI was really heavily involved on the back-end side, very, very strong on their modeling. And so that was key for us, especially key for me, coming from a background of BW and, SAP. I know that, I say it's lipstick on a pig, right? You can build the most beautiful reports in the front end, but if the back end is basically crap, it's still crap, right? So in the end, Visual BI, what really impressed us was their back-end skills, right, in helping building these data models in a very efficient and effective way that can answer multiple questions, even the questions that our business have not thought of yet. So that was on the back end, and then on the front end, again, we had some of the Visual BI folks come in and help us with the initial story design, kind of what's good design principles for dashboards, things like that. We didn't want to spend too much time on that because we knew this is new and our business users are going to make some time, but we really wanted to make sure that our backend was very solid and strong to answer the questions. And then in the July timeframe, we don't have any planning data in SAP as such. We're not say planning, sales planning specific information. So those were all external data sources. And in the June and July timeframe, we worked again with Visual BI to extend our models and create blended models where we had plan versus actual data combined, so we could answer those plan versus actual questions that our business had. So yes, kind of the resources. Oops, how do I go back? Previous, there we go. Okay, so it was the 13 weeks, 2 on-site, 7 offshore, and it was roughly 4,000 development hours. So again, very aggressive timeline, and we went live on time as we anticipated, but any delays that was really due to us and our testing, and they were fantastic in delivering daily and weekly, what was expected. So what was delivered in the back end? We had 293 SAP ECC tables that got modeled. It came from 19 incoming data sources, 240 private views, 360 reuse views, 18 query views, and 20 outgoing data sources. So let me just talk a little about this incoming data sources, because that's not just ECC. What we very early in the project realized is that through the SAP Cloud Platform, we could bring data from our third-party legacy systems that's not on SAP yet, and we could bring that in and kind of like use the Cloud Platform as a, let's just call it a temporary storage, if you wish, for that, for this to be linked to another reporting solution that we were going to try and use for our global reports. And we used a Power BI. For that, I'm not going to talk too much about that, but that was to consolidate our global views, where for the rest, all the SAP data we used in the SAP Cloud Platform and stuff. So here's just an example of what our open order data model looks like. So you can see a very complicated modeling. So it's not like these guys just said, okay, 1 and 2, tables together, let's join it, let's create a union or something like that. There was very complicated modeling that went into this. And that's why it is key to choose a partner that has got very, very strong back-end skills, that really understand your data structures, how this data comes together, really can, look at what your requirements are. Like I said, when we came up and what's our definitions, all those kinds of things, I think we did a good job in having that. But even with that, a strong data modeler or modeling team is critical, and that really was when we decided to go with Visual BI. We looked at their strengths in their modeling and their back-end work to help us with that. Then we started with our story building and training. So again, those were the 2 days that the Visual BI came in and and helped us. They created one story per model, but to be honest with you, our business really didn't own it, and there was multiple reasons for this. But we started with a new project on our ECC side, which was our ECC optimization project. And again, being a small team in our organization, our business process owners also wear multiple hats, including their full-time jobs. And so focus just got diverted away from the analytics project. Although they said they wanted self-service, that necessarily wasn't how it worked out. And that's a mistake on our side, right? I'll own that 100%. But we 100% underestimated the learning curve and the time availability for story creation from our business users. Things that we may find easy to do because we live in that space every day, just takes time. I mean, it's not that it's a difficult tool, SAP Analytics Cloud, but like with anything in life, it takes time. The more time you spend with it, the better you will get at it. And if you've got a distracted user community that has got other higher priorities, then that's what happened. So what went wrong? Here's a couple of things that went wrong on our first take on the story creation. And again, I want to iterate this. This is on the front end story creation, working with the users. It had nothing to do. The back end was solid. The house was built, everything else, but the coloring in of the house, or the decorating of the house, as I call it, we didn't have the people who knew what they wanted to decorate. So we did have some issue with real-time replication that broke a few times through the SDI, and so we had to work with SAP to make sure that we understood what the issues were and set that up. The story results did not load due to memory issues. And again, so we had to upgrade our memory on our HANA database. Again, a lot of this was real-time data, big data models, lots of joins, lots of unions of information, and we initially sized our database on the smallest amount of memory that was available because we weren't sure what the adoption rate was going to be. That was solved by upgrading the memory. Our executives wanted a global view, although that wasn't in scope. You would remember I initially said this was only for the global SAP business, and that was only North America that was on there right now. The Power BI piece was what the executives kind of like wanted, that global view, but that was not in scope for this part of our project. We had some browser issues when multiple users used dashboards. Again, worked with SAP on that, and again, right, we're talking here 18 months, well, now just over 12, 13 months ago, working with SAP to kind of sort these things out. And the users wanted to have the planned data day one, and we were clear again. So a lot of this, honestly, just was related to scope. Things that weren't in scope, that the users kind of like, once they got everything, they were like, hey, can I have more? But because it wasn't in the initial scope, that was some of the issues. So kind of like the change management. A transaction view is related to statuses not fully defined. Again, what is an open order? What's an order that's not PGI'd yet, but has been picked? All these kinds of things. Now that they had all this information, they realized that in their own definitions, they weren't detailed enough. Our blended models wasn't originally in scope, and what I say with blended models, it means what's my current open orders for a customer, what's the current inventory levels that I have for that product, and what's the current raw materials that's on order for that specific product. So blended across in one view. That's some of that information there. And frankly, some basic SSE functionality was not there yet. Things like the fiscal year, right? And automatically creating a fiscal year, all that stuff that's there today. You had to do some tricks to get to that because it worked on calendar year and fiscal year, and fiscal year variants weren't necessarily addressed. So what did we do? We kind of like build a bridge on the not so self-service. We built an analytics charter and governance document, and we secured executive sponsorship to really focus on the front-end visualizations. Now that the back end was solid and everything is, we added an additional DP agent for the big data tables to get real-time more consistent. Worked with SAP itself, and I think I covered some of that, and worked with a BPOs and users to build stories and create dashboards with one-on-one training. We realized that that's the only way we're going to be able to do this, is to sit with them one-on-one. So after we did this, we got 17 active users that was literally spending their time daily in the analytics. They created 13 new stories. We had 16 new back-end models that we created on top of that, a lot of that with some blended data, and 6 new analytics models, to kind of get some of this. And here's an example of some of both operational as well as executive kind of reporting that we had. So by the end of May, this is kind of how things looked at. All of a sudden, we had an uptick. The users started, getting into it. So within 1 month of making the adjustments and stuff, we had 30 active users. We had 44 new stories that they created. We used 43 new backend, or not new backend models, but 43 of the backend models that was designed, and 7 new analytics models. And here's some of the stories related to that, as well as we started using the cloud platform for some of the other what we call warehouse modernization pieces that we'll talk a little more about. And so on our story building and on the SAP Cloud Platform, all of a sudden, I think the business woke up to the fact that, hey, although SAP Analytics Cloud was our first foray into digital transformation and really, using the cloud platform for analytics, there's all these other things we could do. And so we had these additional Fiori tiles, and we'll talk a little bit about that, that was used for operational stuff, including analytics. We had an IoT pilot for tracking our loads that get tendered. We had 2 API prototypes that we ran through the cloud platform. And I know this sounds corny, but the 2 spreadsheets that was retired, if you guys understand in the organization, these were institutionalized spreadsheets that, it was stuff related to Intel that was like 6, 7, 8 years old in the organization. And people just, always wanted to have the spreadsheet. And, those were retired because they get this information in real time through SAP Analytics Cloud, and they didn't have to rely on these spreadsheets anymore. The spreadsheets as such wasn't necessarily the issue. It was all the tens and hundreds of emails per week and per month, and the time that people had to spend and emailing these things and answering questions. Now all those answers was available in real time for them to look at. So a couple of other things. We had some Fiori apps that now directly load data into SAC. Again, this is real-time visibility for our dock loading. And you can see here, if a truck is checked in, it's green. If it's not checked out yet, it is red, and the overall status. And so all of a sudden, our forklift drivers, our warehouse folks, could see in real time, what is happening with our trucks and things like that. Because for us in our business, the distribution of our product is very important, and with the demand for truck drivers just going through the roof, we're trying to make it as easy as possible to do business with us, because we don't own our own fleet and we tender our loads. So in order to get the best rates and the best drivers, make it as easy as possible for them, we could use Analytics Cloud as well as the Cloud Platform to get us information around that. So just here's some. I'm not going to go through all of this, but our future plans for SAC as well as for the Cloud Platform, it's mobile, it's global operational data, it's self-service. So all those things that we initially set out is what we're trying to do. So again, just to recap, in August 2016, August, September, we did our evaluation. October, we did our requirements workshop. November, we chose our partner, and December, we prepared the technical environment with our partner, being Visual BI. February through May, we did the build. May, we did some end-user training and story building. June, we did our soft launch with our BPOs. And August through today, we are in, let's just call it rollout phase, because, on an analytics project, you're always going to be in rollout phase. As users get more and more familiar with the data, the questions become more and more complicated and complex, and so it should, because they, truly analyzing the information and, in June this year, we started loading our third-party data as well into our models to start blending information with transport rates and things like that. So that's kind of high level. So I'm going to go into some of the tips and tricks if you wish. It's more tips than anything else. But what may look like a failure to you is success for somebody else. And we had to learn that early. We were disappointed in the time that the users would give us or whatever. But quickly we knew all of a sudden, what we think that they could do so much more. The fact that they were even doing it was great. Leave your own bias at the door. What I mean by that is, just because you think things should happen quicker or whatever, for the users, again, they'll go at their own thing, but the fact that they're on this, that's a good thing. And change is harder than what you think, so plan for it. Educate both up and down. Executives, it's really important that your executives understand what the change management is and what it's going to be. And be agile and nimble. And this is where it's critical to have a partner that will go on this route with you, right? Or on this road with you, and be flexible with you. And fail fast and adjust. When we realized very quickly that some of the information that the users are asking for, they're never going to use, we just abandoned that and focused on where they're going to do. Address the pain points head on, move the needle. That's important. Little incremental. That's why we did these things in 2-week sprints, right? Just move the needle. So build it in that, and they will come. That's kind of like the field of dreams idea, right? So evaluate the solutions before choosing. That's really important. So know what you want. And for us, again, it was the cloud platform. We know SAP is spending millions and millions of dollars on SAP Analytics Cloud, the planning side of things, the predictive side of things, all these things that SAP is doing. They're heavily investing in the cloud platform. So and Analytics Cloud. So we knew that this was the right thing for us. So look at the product roadmap. And again, I'm not going to read through all of this, but I mean, this is really important. And have analytics as part of your global template and as part of your business processes. In our testing today, when we work towards our S4 piece, is the process does not end until the analytics is run related to that. And, that's really important. Make sure that everyone's on the same page of the book when it comes to requirements. Be very clear. Although we were very clear, people were surprised that planning data wasn't in there. Although we made it very clear, so be very clear. And internal resources, incredibly important. Who owns it? Who builds it? Who maintains it? Who supports it? Who uses it? And who governs it? Right? Those are questions that sometimes get glossed over, but it's really, really important that people spend the time to understand that, hey, we have to own this, and this is not an IT thing. This is a business process owners, and sometimes they forget that we there as a support organization, but we don't own this, and it's critical that that you have that. When you choose a partner, what kind of resources do they have? On-site, off-site, and offshore model. I mean, be very clear in what it is you're looking for. And again, for us, in choosing Visual BI, they were the best of both worlds for us, right? We could have the onshore resources as we needed it, but most of the work got done offshore and very effectively and very efficiently. And in a blended model, so in a blended model, you get the benefits of both cost and 24/7 kind of support, right? Experience, interview the resources, speak to reference customers, make sure it's their main business. And again, for Visual, we had lots of other folks, and we've got different other partners that support our ECC environment that, wanted to get involved. And we just knew that, this is Visual BI's main business. And for us, it was an analytics project. And, make sure that the resources that you choose and the partner that you choose knows what they're doing. And so cost, fixed versus time and material. I mean, there's different things at different stages of the project. Visual BI still supports us today as we are upgrading to S4. One of their resources is literally this week have started with us again in our engagement engagement in some remediation on some of the S4 stuff we do. So for us, it wasn't about choosing a vendor. It was about choosing a partner. Somebody that understands where we want to go as Kmg, somebody that understands our limitations with our own internal resources, our own internal politics, but somebody that was willing to walk a road with us as a partner long term. And are they flexible, right? Again, we weren't just looking for somebody that was willing to just come in and say, hey, you know what, you're going to have 20 change orders for things that needs to be done. Somebody that was flexible, that as our scope adjusted, they were adjusting with us and willing to work with us. And I always say I'm going to spend a lot of time with these folks, so make sure that there's chemistry between partners, that you work as one team from day one. We never saw it as us and them. It was together. You guys are part of our team. We were flexible in our working arrangements with them. Sometimes when they needed to work, even onshore guys, when they needed to work off-site, they earned that trust from us, and they delivered. So make sure that chemistry is there between the organization, so that when the hard times come, you've got that relationship where you can figure things out together. The delivery model, for us, it was a new delivery model, right? It wasn't the old historical kind of like waterfall project. It had to be agile. Our business, couldn't give us the time, so we literally had to, this one day a week that we could get from them, we really had to knock it out the park. And from our side, again, from the back-end side, Visual BI and our technical team, we managed to do that. We underestimated the amount of work from the business involvement. Not because we underestimated it as such, it's because, once the business saw it all is possible, they really got excited and just take some more time. And no time, no delivery. I mean, it's very simple. We put our foot down with some of the business folks, especially on the finance side, that really couldn't give us any time. And we said, well, if you cannot give us the time, we cannot validate it. And so, we're not going to deliver some of those stories without you spending the time helping us, validating it, making sure you're getting what you want. So, we were pretty, what's the right word, rigid on that side, because the business really has to own this. And, I want to leave you with this last thing. When the pain to change is less than the pain to stay the same, people will adapt and adopt. And I think that's what happened. Once folks, saw it so much easier to just build the story, spend the time getting to it, and you don't have to every week or every month or every day go into SE16 and dump the data and try and aggregate it and put all the business logic and all these kind of things. Once you do it once, it's there and it automatically updates. That's when they change. So bleeding edge can be messy, but for sure, in the long run, it's worth it. I mean, I was at a panel with SAP yesterday in a discussion, and I realized just how far we as an organization have come, because we've embraced the roadmap where SAP is going. And so we're a cloud-first analytics organization. So we've got the mobile capability, we've got the real-time capability, we can get the executive information, and we can get operational information from the same models. And so we've come a long way, but yes, it was painful, but absolutely worth it. Governance is critical. Make sure that the people know the definition. So whenever somebody comes to me and go, hey, I think the net value calculation is incorrect because of this or that, I just tell them, go speak to the business owner, the one that owns this measure. This is how it's calculated. This is the reasons. But we don't own it. The business owns it. Treat public governance as sacred, right? So whenever you've got a story that is going to be consumed by more than just one person, make sure it's got the right look and feel, it's got the right things in there. And so we basically use our public stories the same way as we would do any transport that goes into production in our ECC environment, right? We've got the BPOs reviewing the stories, making sure it's got what we call verified as a sign on top of it. And so, it is really important and very, very important. When the business says they want it in real time, they don't always mean real time. There's certain things they absolutely want in real time. Other things is as of the end of business yesterday is good enough, right? So be wise in what they really want in real time, especially when it comes to batch level information or down to specific schedule lines and order statuses and things like that. And part-time resources do not cut it. And here I talk specifically from the business because from our partners, these were full-time folks, right? But they have to give the time to make sure it's done. Ownership is critical. Champions must come from the business. Address the business pain points, right? And get an early adopter, get early evangelists, because they're the ones that kind of like drive the rest of the organization to start using it. Choose a good partner. I cannot emphasize this enough. The back-end skills that Visual BI brought to the table for us it's priceless. Our designs still today stand the test of time. We're creating more and more stories over it, but we've hardly had to change any of our original designs of our models, and that's a testament to the quality of the resources we received from Visual BI. So, I'm not going to go through all of that, but I guess at the end, I want to really add this one, have fun. I mean, this is what we do for, depending on the organization, 10, 12 hours a day. So make sure that as you're doing it, have fun while you do it. And SAP's help has been fantastic on this side, on the Analytics Cloud. And SAP, with their whole focus on getting to the cloud, they've been a great partner for us as well. So that's kind of, I'm not going to cover too much because I want to leave some time for questions and stuff. But yes, some of the additional things we have done on our digital transformation. This is kind of like, this was our paper process that's turned into a really nice simplified UI5 application for our truck checking in and drivers knowing exactly where to go, and it just from an operational perspective, having all this information digitally has just made the truck drop off and pickups just so much more efficient. And again, with the demand for drivers going through the roof and the cost of transportation skyrocketing, this was really important for us. So we could go from a very manual solution to a very digitized solution, and using this information to add it together with our ECC information blended and presenting that in SAC. So with that said, I know this was a lot of information in a very condensed time. So, but again, folks, if you take one lesson away from this, choose a partner that is focused on delivering what you are looking for, that is strong in the back end, that is strong in the cloud, and with the experience of Visual BI, I highly recommend them because, having spent time in my career in this, I know what these guys have done for us, and they've done a phenomenal job, and I highly recommend it. So Gopal, over to you again.
Thanks a lot, Frikkie. There are some interesting questions. I'm going to read it out for you to answer. And there is a question, are we going to get the recording in the end? Yes, absolutely. We send the recording to all the registrants, and including those who couldn't make it. The next question would be, what size of HANA database did you purchase in SCP? Is it something that you can share, Frikkie?
I think, Gopal, and I'm talking under correction here, it was whatever the minimum size was, and I want to say it was 64 gig, but I'm talking under correction. But it was whatever the minimum size was that SAP sold. It may have been 32 gig, but I think it was 64, but I'm talking under correction.
Got it. Thank you. Now, there is a question, why did you choose SAC versus Tableau or a Power BI?
Okay, and that is a great question, right? Two reasons. Long term, where SAP is going with SAC, we wanted one solution that will be able to do everything now. Like I said, We also are using Power BI for our consolidated global view, right? And so because that wasn't in the scope of what we were doing, so and from a Tableau perspective, it's another front end, it's another visualization, but that's just part of your solution. So you really have to be careful in understanding when you choose a solution. Don't just look at your front end. Look at the overall piece. Where's my data residing? My initial data. For us, with a cloud platform and APIs from third-party organizations and customers and vendors that we wanted to bring in, how did we blend that together? And then ultimately, who's responsible for managing what, right? If we have Tableau or Power BI in the long term and SAP changes something, how does that affect the management of all of that? We've seen nothing wrong with those solutions, great visualization tools and stuff, but the transformation of the information coming from ECC or in the future S4 and with embedded analytics and things like that, we just, when we looked at our long term, for us, this was a long play, right? Because we're still part of global rollouts and all of that. The overall cost of ownership with doing it all in SAP and SAP helping with the extractors and all that kind of stuff, it just made sense for us to do it in SAC. Now, is SAC not as mature as Tableau yet on the visualization? Absolutely. Does Power BI have some better pieces in certain cases? Absolutely. But again, we looked at the overall solution, right? Soup to nuts, from the back end all the way to the front end, and that's why we chose SAC.
Thank you, Frikkie. Can you elaborate on the data volumes, and did you go down to the line items in SAC?
I'm sad to say not only did we go down to the line items, or I'm excited to say, depending on how you want to look at it, we went down to schedule line in certain cases. And in cases when it comes down to, like for instance, pricing on billing documents and orders and stuff, we went down to the condition records. So we were at the finite level of information, BSEG, MSEG, CONV, VBEP, very, very granular data that we have in real time, right? So that's where the skill of the data modelers and the back end becomes so critical to ensure that not only does these data get blended properly and the models get created and the joins and the unions and the SQL pieces that all needs to be in place is there, but that you can get to the answers you want in a quick enough time to answer the questions in real time that the business need. So yeah, down to that level.
No, thank you, Frikkie. Now, the next question is usually about the cloud. Customers are concerned about data security. Can you address that?
Okay, so we use, and again, I'm probably not the right person. I can tell you what we've done, but I didn't build the solution. I mean, the guys on our network side and on our basis side did that, but we use the same authentication that we use for our Office 365 and for our email or our network ID and all of that, the single sign-on through SAML. I think that's what it's called, authentication. So it's all single sign-on. So it's you have to authenticate through our network authentication, and that was set up. SAC works very nicely with that. So from that side, I think that's the question to get to the solution and then the reports. From the reporting side of things, we've created user groups. So we haven't gone down to locking down individual specific KPIs or things like that. We could do that. We chose not to do that because the data that we have as such in the groups that we have is not that sensitive. If you understand what I'm saying, we don't mind people in the same group seeing the information together. And again, small organization, BPOs, wearing multiple hats. The guys that do sales need to see what's inventory and what's incoming in procurement. So we wanted to have folks have access to that information to make decisions that benefit costs and ultimately get us the margins we're looking for.
Thank you, Frikkie. In the essence of time, we have time for a couple of more questions, but I wanted to share that we will be sharing the slides, we will be sharing the recording, and I also wanted to inform you that if you wanted to talk one-on-one, you have a project in hand, you want to have a kind of a direct conversation, Visual BI is happy to arrange kind of a reference call with Frikkie, and feel free to reach out to us. So moving on to the next question. Did the project have both structured and unstructured data?
Yes.
Then there is questions about the data quality, data consistency, and the steps involved in extraction from ECC to the SAP Cloud Platform. Obviously we used SDI. That was one of the questions. What is the extraction methodology? So if you can spend a couple of minutes around it, and then we can wrap up the webinar.
Yes. So absolutely, we used SDI, and so from a data quality perspective, from day one, we said we fix the quality at source, right? We were very clear from our business, because again, right now the main focus was on getting data out of SAP and out of the ECC environment, and so we fixed that at source. Now, the stuff that the other project through Power BI had to do, that guy had to do a lot of data cleansing, right? We did not want to get involved in that because of the timeline and what we wanted to do. That's why we kept our scope specifically to the data in ECC, and the users were tasked. So we created queries very quickly over some of the master data tables, right? And they very quickly could see what fields were missing, what fields were inaccurate, and things like that. And frankly, today they use SAC as kind of like an auditing tool for master data, and very quickly you see what gaps there are. And part of their monthly control procedures today is to run these SAC reports and see where the gaps in the new master data is that was potentially created, and go and fix that at the source.
No, thank you, Frikkie. And I kind of wanted to share to the audience that we have a couple of exciting webinars coming up for September. One is on Lumira 2.2, which got GA day before yesterday. So we will be sharing on why you need to upgrade to Lumira 2.2. Then we have another exciting webinar on various data warehousing options you have, from BW on HANA to B4 HANA to S4 embedded analytics to, or even SAP HANA Cloud Platform, or even on-prem HANA Enterprise. So we have a couple of exciting webinars, and I wanted to invite you to register and be as part of our educational series webinars. And I will also tell you that we plan to bring more exciting customer stories like the one we heard today. And I wanted to thank every one of you for your participation and attendance. Thank you all. Thank you, Frikkie.
Thank you.